The only way you can change the world is with stories.
Yes.
Oh,
Hello, Maya. How are you?
oh my God, how are you? It
I'm
is.
great. Can you see? No, I can see you look beautiful. Love the braids. You look
Oh,
beautiful.
thank you. Oh my God, I'm gonna cry. Listen, there were so many times during the viewing of The Photographer that I wanted to cry. Like, you are such a beautiful and inspirational soul. So I just want to get started and dive right in. So the name of the new exhibit is I Love Campbell, but you named it I Love Campbell at a time when you were struggling with loving yourself. How did you come
Yeah.
up with the why did you make the decision to name the exhibition I Love Campbell?
I made the decision to name it I Love Campbell because I was at a precipice in my life where a lot of change was happening. I was turning 30. I just left two huge relationships, both romantic and business. And I'd never really sat with myself before. And I was going through therapy again. And I was like, I really want to almost meet myself in the
Hmm.
future me basically, and be like, I can say I love myself. It was an affirmation I just had to say in the mirror every day. And when I was sitting down with the designers and my agent about the exhibition title, I was like, I'm on this journey. I'm not at the end yet, but I hope one day I can say I love myself very casually without any hint of, cringeness. And yeah, and that's how it came about.
Yeah, love seems to be self-love, the love of others, the love of our skin seems to be a big theme through your work. And I was like gobsmacked. Another time I was almost in tears was during the filming of the video reactions of people saying, "What's the name of?" I can't think of the exhibit.
Decolonizing, decolonizing my tongue with love.
There you go. I was
Good
almost in
mouth.
tears watching those people express their first time with love. How did you come up with the idea to videotape those reactions?
So the idea actually came from a random interview, and I'm paraphrasing, um, from Toni Morrison. And she was writing about a character who was trying to express something that she couldn't express with love, with words. And as someone of the diaspora, I have dyslexia, but I pick up languages quite well. So I went down this rabbit hole of generational language and kept asking myself the questions. Maybe my ancestors were linguistic people. Maybe I don't know how to communicate through the traditional language because it may not be my natural language. But then I had the idea of tongues and sounds and what language can we all speak regardless of where we're from. And it was audio, it was pure sounds. And I was like, this is also something I think as humans of the modern age, we rely on modern language to sometimes diminish the feelings of, love. Love can come in so many forms, but in the English language, we only have one word for it. So I wanted to create a space, a soundscape that regardless of whether you can understand the language, regardless of whether you're from the country, you can interpret it into your own mind and world. And the models loved it because they just had to sit there and make noise.
It's the universal language, and it was just such a touching part of the exhibit. I wish I could see it in person myself. It's the work was absolutely stunning. I want to talk a little bit about your homeland of Ghana. It's become a cultural hotspot, and many Black Americans want to return to Ghana. How does that make you feel being from Ghana? And does it make you protective of your country and your homeland and the environment, or does it make you excited that more people want to be educated about Ghana and the lives there?
Oh, far from it. I'm very open to it. Because growing up, it was a hidden secret. People used to bully me for going back home to Ghana because they couldn't understand why I'd want to go to a poor country. And now seeing the world have an interest in where I'm from, it brings me joy and hope because I think the more we know about the world and the different types of blackness, the more free as Black people we become because we realize that we're all connected in so many ways, but then the thing that makes us great is how different we are.
Hmm.
And the continent is still suffering. There's a lot of issues that are still happening in African countries that I think with more Westerners visiting with love, we'll be able to highlight those issues and push our nations forward as opposed to still feeling like some things are stuck despite being in 2024.
Yeah, it's beautiful, beautiful. So the one of the first moments of praise in the photographer came from Naomi Campbell. And
Yes.
yeah, it just the accolades just kept rolling down and kept coming. And a lot of times when we're working, we think no one is paying attention. And then when you got to
Yeah.
photograph Lizzo, she came with the night journal. And how did that feel? Like you feel like, oh, I'm just doing this for the love, like, but then people are always watching. And how did that make you feel to just be recognized in that way?
It felt so soul affirming because for the longest time that I can remember from school, teachers would say, "You're not good at this, you shouldn't go to this university." And I beat the odds, but it was from my sheer, determination and having people outside of my, spectrum or world notice it made me feel like, okay, I'm doing something that means something. Because often you're just kind of plodding along doing what you want to do. And it gave me the fire to keep going. And I think if I didn't have those points of affirmation, I don't know if I would have continued because it's an uphill battle sometimes. And being a photographer isn't for the faint-hearted. It looks glamorous, but it's a lot sometimes. So having people just acknowledge, and it's not even on a grand scale. So it's little, I see you, you're doing well. It's kind of like, wow, okay, I'm gonna keep going for you guys.
You keep talking about drive. You've mentioned that a lot. You said you speak like an artist. Your words are like poetry. Like I'm telling you, I was gobsmacked just watching you talk and your the thoughts that you have about things. You said something about your drive was like a warm blanket for you to
Mm.
keep you going. Do you think that if you had not become independent so early on in life, you would be the artist that you are today?
Interesting question.
Hmm.
I would say I would still be an artist because prior to the chapter of my independence as a teen, I was still very much, hard-headed, curious. I think I was born that way. So I maybe would have been a different type of artist. I maybe might have been softer, but my independence did really teach me at a very, very young age what the world is really about. When you're young and impressionable and vulnerable, two things can happen to you. You can fall into the trap and get caught. And I'm very, very blessed. I say I have guardian angels and I had great friends and mentors that kept me from, the dangers of being young and independent. But the drive would just always been there. I still remember being like 8 years old, standing on a hill, looking at the towers of London, and I'm going to be there one day. Don't know what I was going to do, but I was going to be there one day. So I think it would have just been a different type of drive. Maybe not so, you know, hard and go get them. I still would have had the drive to be an artist for sure.
Yeah. So one of the most relatable moments in the episode was when you told your dogs if they jumped on you when you were getting ready for the party, you would skin them. I totally understand that. But getting ready for that party and oh, I'm sorry, the exhibition and walking into that room, how you said there were moments of excitement mixed with dread. Like how was it walking in there and seeing how well received and how loved it had to be, like you said earlier, soul or life affirming? It had to just, how was that for you?
It was very overwhelming. Because like anyone who brings out self-directed projects, you know, we're all kind of really, narcissistically in love with ourselves. So we forget once we put it onto the world stage, we're like, wait, people may not enjoy this. And then, all the little doubts creep in. But I remember walking in and being like, wow, this is a lot. And just, as a coping mechanism, and you'll see in the documentary, I kind of was like smiling really happy. Then I see like my closest, dearest Echo, and then I like get really emotional because I think certain people have been there throughout the journey. So it's kind of like when I see them, it's like, oh my gosh, like this is a lot. But it was a lot in the most beautiful, most positive way.
So I'm gonna wrap up after this, but I have this one last question. Was it more nerve-wracking for the opening of the show or the private showing that happened a couple of days later? Which one was more?
The private, for
uh,
sure. You can see in my face,
Yeah,
I'm just full of dread. Because, despite what goes on with your family, you only have one family. So I've always just wanted their approval and also to understand it. Because if my mother and my brother can understand it, then I guess I'm doing a good job. That's how I feel.
your mom saying that that picture of you looked like a warrior.
Yeah.
Waterworks. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for taking the time to speak with me this morning. We certainly appreciate it, and you have a ton of fans at Just in Life.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you, man. It's
Thank
amazing.
thank you, Campbell.
Enjoy your day.
You too.
Bye.